This is my 1,000 horsepower 07 5.9 Cummins. And right now it's lit better than most on the road. It's got some decent rock lights from McTuning and some quality 12-row switchbacks from Adrenaline Off-Road. And I've been happy with this setup for a while, but today we're asking a question. If I upgrade the rock lights to Black Flag's 168 LED pods as well as their 20-row wheel lights, will it actually make a difference at night? Or is it just overkill? Regardless, we're gonna install these units, test it side by side with the old lights, and I'm telling you, the results might surprise you. Welcome to LMDiesel. All right, let's go ahead and unbox these things, take a look at the packaging, and also check out the build quality of the products inside. First thing to note here, everything is just kind of thrown in. These are high quality units. They're designed to withstand abuse. However, I think that adding at least some foam to the packaging process would have been good. You'll notice that like the bags are starting to rip a little bit. All of the rock lights came in their own individual bags, which I think is really nice. It kind of helped to protect them. However, some of the bags were ripped during shipping, and one rock light in particular actually did get scratched. So all things considered, everything showed up on time. Nothing is damaged in the sense that it won't be functional. Some things were scratched, but just as a note, as I'm unboxing these, I do think that they should have used a little bit more foam and things like that for packaging this. So we got the 20-row wheel lights here. These things are pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie. They got some weight to them for sure. The rings themselves feel very solid, like they don't really bend or flex much. And then we have our 168 LED rock light pods here. These are aluminum housings. This thing is big. I mean, I don't have small hands, as you can see, but this rock light is almost the size of my hand. It's huge. A quick note on the quality of these. So a lot of people wonder where these rock lights come from. The LEDs themselves are from overseas. However, the aluminum ring on this wheel light and the actual housing on this rock light are made here in the US. Another quick note about the rock light here is that it does have magnets installed on the back, which is nice. So I give these an A+ as far as quality goes. All right, so we got all 4 wheel lights wired up here to the control box. So one thing to note is there are actual instructions on the main control box for the system. One of those instructions that I wanted to emphasize is the fact that you should not turn these on until they are all connected. I actually powered just one of them on and it blew a fuse. But thankfully, one of the great things about this Black Flag system is that it is so impressively fused. So there's a good size fuse between your car battery and then the control box. And then the control box has 4 fuses, 1 for each wheel light. So if anything happens with any of these, that fuse will blow and protect the system. This is easily one of the best systems I've seen. I've installed, this would be my 4th set of wheel lights I've put on this truck at this point, and this is by far the best system ever. And honestly, a lot of companies do cheap out on the actual wiring and the control box for the system. Another big thing that I love about these is that each wheel light has only 1 lead coming off of it. There's some wheel lights that when they have a row on the inside and outside, there's actually 2 leads coming off. That's how the Adrenaline Off-Road ones are, and it just creates a lot more wiring. Finally, we do have a remote control here as well as a key fob, so that's nice. So to make sure they all work, let's go ahead and fire them up. God dang. Whoa, that is insanely bright. Wow, oh my gosh. Okay, so let's go ahead and test out the rock lights. All right, so we got it all hooked up here. Quick thing to note, we have basically the same control box as the wheel lights. Different fuse though on these, but basically a very similar control box. We have 4 leads coming off of this box, and then each lead goes into a splitter. So the thing that's nice about the system is it is extremely modular. That's the big thing to take away here. You see we got a lot of wires here. It's a little messy, but we have all 20 of our rock lights mounted to the side of the toolbox here, showcasing that magnetic mount. So I figured that'd be fun. So let's go ahead and fire them up and y'all can hear my reaction. Oh my gosh. What the heck, dude? Well, they all work. let's see, different modes. And they get brighter. Actually, they get brighter than that. That's ridiculous. Got some modes here. Oh my. Insane. And by the way, it's bright outside. Like my eyes are adjusted to it and I can barely look at these things. It's ridiculous. All right, so to get started with this install, let's go ahead and start with wheel lights. Now, in this video, I'm gonna show you guys how to install wheel lights properly. The way I'm gonna show you is a little bit more involved when it comes to installing wheel lights, but I guarantee that if you install wheel lights this way, you will not have to worry about them. This is literally the fourth set of wheel lights I will be installing on this truck, so I have learned a thing or two about it. So, to go ahead and start, as you can see, we already have the tire off. But next we need to get the brake caliper assembly off. And we also need to get the brake rotor off. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we have our brake caliper off, we have our brake rotor off, and now it's time to put on our wheel light. First thing to note, and this is the only thing that I have not liked about this Black Flag kit so far, is that they pre-stuck all of the adhesive on these wheel lights, which means that to take these off, you either have to pull this up and risk kind of ruining the adhesive, or when you need to remove one, you can just cut it like I did. I used a cut off wheel and just cut one. That did seem to work well, didn't damage anything. So that's the only thing that I don't like, but we were still able to get it done. Now the proper way to get this done is you'll notice that we have the brackets on the inside here, and you want to come in, slide it around like this, and you want to make sure that the brackets are on the back side of the brake shield. That will ensure that the brackets don't rub on the brake rotor at all when you put it all back together. Then you want to space everything out, make sure that it looks good, and then you want to drill 2 holes for each bracket, and then install your nuts and bolts into there, and then make sure that you do Loctite on those nuts and bolts as well. Also try to make sure you give yourself enough room so that you can reinstall your brake caliper. So let's go ahead and get started and get this installed. All right, so we got the wheel light mocked up here. We have it installed on the backside of this shield here. This is how I installed my last wheel lights. Some people do it this way. The problem I've run into though is that typically the rotor will rub on this. So that's why we're gonna take this off and actually install it on the other side of the brake shield. But this is simply just to mock it up. Now, I know previously I said to make sure to have at least 4 of these connections. However, if you look here, there was just no way to do it and to have it clear this caliper. One of the tough things with these wheel lights is that you need to be able to take your brake calipers off, you need to take your brakes off, and you need to be able to service them with the wheel lights on. And there was just not enough room. I mean, literally like the wheel light would be touching the caliper if I had done all 4 brackets. So unfortunately, I just had to do 3. However, we got it pretty good and tight. We got 2 bolts for each one. So now I'm gonna go ahead and switch, put the wheel light on the opposite side of the shield, check back with you, and then we'll see what the final install looks like. Oh, another thing too, you ideally want your lead to come off on the top. That way it can run with all of the wire, with all of your brake related lines. So it's fully installed here. As you can see, we have our bolts installed there, 2 each one. Pretty solid. I also usually just run a couple zip ties around the whole thing, just in case the adhesive fails. It shouldn't, but it's just a safety thing for me. And then if you check out the back side, you'll see how it is Loctited up and ready to rock. One quick note, one of the reasons why I have it mounted like this is so that there is plenty of room so that this tie rod doesn't rub. If it was flipped the other direction, I believe it would hit this. So that's why it's set up like that. And then this gives you a good idea. You see how much room we have here for that caliper. So just to keep it all safe. So let's go ahead and get the brakes together and I'll show you what it looks like before the tire goes back on. All right, so as you can see, we got it all installed here. Good clearances around it. You know, you definitely have to build it in a way to where there's room for everything. So it feels very solid. You can kind of see it there. Just tucks in real nice. And I'm excited to get the rest of them installed. So relax, Hopefully this was helpful. Let's go ahead and get the rest of these wheel lights installed. All right, so I'm working on the back wheel here. And I just wanted to emphasize here when you're installing these that you do kind of have to improvise. So on the fronts, I made sure that these brackets here were on the back side of the brake shield. That was because I didn't want the rotor to rub on the brackets. However, the back brakes on this truck, there's a lot more clearance because the shields are actually set in more. So because I wanted the wheel light to be more in the wheel this time instead of sticking kind of out of the wheel, I opted to install it this way. This shield also is shaped a little differently. So you'll notice I actually was able to get 4 brackets installed on this, and it's very solid, of course. So when you're installing wheel lights, you kind of have to improvise sometimes. Another thing too about why I installed this way, you'll notice there's a ridge right here. If I installed it on the back, then it wouldn't sit flush. So we'll go ahead and get this rotor installed. Once again, of course, always do a washer on the back of this with a lock ring as well as a nut and some Loctite. So now that we got it all installed, you can see how even though I tried to get it as close into the wheel as possible, it still sticks out some. If you look at this Adrenaline Off-Road one here, you can see it is not in the wheel at all. So this time around, I did want to try and get the wheel lights more in the wheel. As you can see on the front here, I did get these installed a little bit more in the wheel. They tuck in real nice there. So should illuminate that pretty good. However, I do have some wheel spacers that I might put in later in this video. Sometimes it is nice when the wheel lights are not fully in the rim. It kind of helps to illuminate the wheel well a little bit more. So if I don't like this setup, I can always add a wheel spacer. It'll bring that wheel out, and then that wheel light will be more exposed. One of the things I recommend doing when you do wheel lights is make sure you get the inside of your rim real clean. Shout out to my wife for working on that. Try to get all the brake dust, everything else. If your wheels are forged, maybe do a little bit of metal polish in there, but this will make the wheel lights really shine good. All right, so now that we got the wheel lights installed, now we gotta start wiring it all up. So we got both the rock lights and the wheel lights installed. I kind of went in depth on how to install the wheel lights. However, the rock lights were really straightforward. I didn't really see a need to explain that. The thing that was extremely helpful though with the rock lights, again, was those magnets. I was able to just stick them up and I could trust that they could stay there. In a couple places, I did end up bolting the rock lights to the frame just because I felt like the surface wasn't best quality for the magnets to stick to. But other than that, it was pretty straightforward. The wiring process was very easy. It just took a while because there are a lot of wires, 20 rock lights and 20-row wheel lights. It's a lot of wires, but we got it all installed. We got it all cleaned up. Now let's go ahead and see how this thing looks at night. All right, today's video is sponsored by LastFit. They sent out a set of their headlight bulbs and these things are capable of 13,000 lumens a piece. And real quickly, we're gonna be comparing these LastFit bulbs versus my current LED bulbs, these Oxito bulbs, as well as versus stock headlight bulbs. All right, so here are the regular headlight bulbs. And then these are my current LED bulbs. As you can tell, definitely brighter than stock. And here are the LastFit bulbs. Oh my gosh, look at that, dude. That's crazy bright. Just for reference, here is my old bulb here. The old LED bulb, which you can tell it's definitely bright. But man, you go over to this one and it is like, you know, it's blinding the whole camera. It's definitely brighter. Well, as you could tell in that comparison, the Last Fit bulbs were definitely brighter. So if you're interested in picking up a set of bulbs from Last Fit, or really anything from Last Fit, they have bed liners and a list of other parts. Make sure to check out the link down below. Make sure to use the discount code. And big thanks to Last Fit for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Now, a little thing I want to note before we dive into this comparison is that because of how wide the wheel lights are, I had to install them favoring the inside of the rim, as opposed to the Adrenaline Off-Road ones where they favored the outside of the rim. So KSP hooked me up with a set of their 2-inch wheel spacers. I'm actually going to be installing these for this comparison just so that the wheel lights actually stick outside of the rim, just like the Adrenaline Off-Road ones do. So we're gonna go ahead and get these installed before we dive into that comparison. All right, for this test, I kept the exact same camera settings the whole time. Nothing changed except the lights. So what you're seeing is a true visual comparison. This is my truck with the old setup, 20 McTuning RGBW rock lights and Adrenaline Off-Road 12-row wheel lights. The rock light placement was 2 per wheel well, 2 in the front, 2 in the rear, and 4 underneath the cab. The McTuning lights are RGBW, so you do get full color options, which is a cool feature. Overall, this setup was solid. The Adrenaline Off-Road 12-row wheel lights are bright. Even by themselves, they throw a lot of light. But you can see some definite shadows underneath, especially around the traction bars and towards the center of the truck. And since some of the rock lights are starting to lose LEDs, the coverage isn't even anymore. So good setup, definitely bright, but still some dark zones underneath. Now here's the Black Flag setup. Same camera settings. This is also a 20 rock light layout, but the placement changed a little bit. 2 per wheel well, 2 in the front, 2 in the rear, 1 under each door, 1 towards the front of the bed, and 2 underneath the truck. 1 above the drive shaft, closer to the transfer case, and then another also above the drive shaft, but placed closer to the rear axle. Placing these lights here definitely helped with the center coverage. However, it's not just raw brightness, it's about fill. The underside is much more evenly lit, and the shadowing in the middle of the truck is noticeably reduced. On the wheel light side, the Black Flag 20 rows are about as bright as the Adrenaline Off-Road 12 rows. The difference really is in the coverage. With more LEDs, the light spreads more evenly underneath the truck and into the wheel well. It looks fuller and more complete. And everything runs through one controller, so the rock lights and wheel lights operate as one unified system. You can also play with different modes with this unified system. It's fun to see all the rock lights and wheel lights operate together in some of these fun modes. So all right, in conclusion, was the Black Flag lighting upgrade worth it? I have to say yes, for sure. When it comes to the rock lights, there is no question these lights are so much brighter than the original lights that are on this truck. And then as far as the wheel lights, while the Adrenaline Off-Road lights are still really good, these tend to be a little bit brighter and the build quality seems to be a little bit better as well. So I have no problem recommending these. So big thanks to Black Flag for sending these lights out. Thanks for supporting the channel. Y'all who are watching, make sure to check out the link below. I do have a discount code for you guys, so make sure to check that out. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And boys, I'll see you in the next one.